Betfas is the greatest talent of the current 3.0 Xbow cycle generation. Last season, he was the highest 3.0 Xbow cycle player on Top Ladder, and in this video, we're bringing back the most acclaimed series here on the SK channel and analyzing Betfas' gameplay. Of course, he won against decks like Royal Giant Monk and Giant Prince, and this performance follows his previous #1 ladder finish with 3.0 Xbow cycle. I don't know why, but you guys ask me for this type of content all the time, even when it's mid-season, so you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and give you what you want. Also, only a small percentage of people that watch my channel are actually subscribed. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. It's free and it'd really help me out. Enjoy the video. Alright, we're here, another Betfas video. This is what you wanted, right? So I'm just gonna give it to you guys. We are into a match of Betfas against Sandbox, and ooh, if you take a look at Sandbox's deck, yes, it is looking like it is shaping up to be Royal Giant, more specifically Royal Giant Monk, which I would say is a pretty big hard counter against Expo Cycle, but of course, this is a matchup that Betfas literally won against for his #1 finish last season, so, you know, anything can really happen. Betfas truly does tend to show that things aren't always as they seem with 3.0. You can really just outplay any deck, and today the point of this video is to analyze Betfas' top ladder gameplay, understand the way he plays this deck and how he's able to beat the hard counters that he does in order to succeed. Right there we see a naked fireball cycled on the tower by Betfas, matched by Sandbox, and it is definitely going to be Monk by the way Sandbox is playing this game. Last two cards for Sandy should be Evo, RG, and the Monk. I'm friends with Sandbox, you know, he's a pretty good player, former CRL world finalist, and he is known to be playing Royal Giant pretty often these days. One of my friends, Dybala, has crashed out against him quite a few times when he was playing Expo against RG Monk, so, you know, certainly an interesting one. And speaking of interesting, Betfas going really heavy on the spell cycle early. You can see he does actually take a damage lead for his early fireballs, forcing out a Monk ability with those Evo Archers. So it looks like Betfas chose to use the Evo Archers to force out a Monk ability, as opposed to actually saving them for some kind of trick to break through on offense. Here we see a nice Tesla plus Knight for the RG. Really good skellies. Look at that separation of the skeletons from the Tesla. You can see that Sandbox did try to log the Tesla to take it out early. Betfas played his skeletons on the far right side instead of lining them up with the Tesla in terms of a vertical direction, so just avoiding spell value. Very nice little micro tip that you guys should all take away from that interaction. And Betfas is going to be entering the double elixir phase with a damage lead furthered even more by another fireball thrown on the tower, so he's really just playing this like a true fireball cycle matchup. We see a Knight to block that Evo Hunter, but it is going to be an Evo Hunter who's going to immobilize the Knight. We might see a kite out of range on this Monk. Yes, we will. So Monk's going to be cut out of range just barely in time for the Expo to not target the Monk anymore after reflection, retarget onto the tower, and now Sandbox is in a bit of trouble. Betfas gets a nice lock in the left and defends that RG for 0 hits. That is very surprising to me. I swear those RGs always get at least 1 hit. But Betfas defending that flawlessly, as you guys can see, just emulate that defense, getting the Archers to DPS early, the Tesla in the middle, cycle cards to help out when needed, and that is how he took 0 hits from an RG push. Sandbox with a bit of an aggressive RG now. Betfas can easily defend it with the Tesla Knight Skellies and go on with the Expo counter push in the left. We'll see a Monk, unfortunately, there to block it, so Monk ability will basically fully shut down this Expo, but I suppose Betfas' main goal there was to just force out the Monk rather than actually get a lock. It looks like right now he's just going to try and maintain his damage lead and just hold on to it as opposed to actually getting a lock. Speaking of damage though, the Hunter does sneak a bit of shrapnel in on the left tower, so Betfas actually kind of getting the gap closed by Sandbox, not really up as much as he'd like to be. Do see the early Evo Archers and Skellies to bridge block that Monk, which I really like that play. As you guys can see, bridge blocking Monks, a super crucial play, not going to work out super well because the Monk does eventually get pushed by the RG, but it was successful enough to prevent most of that value. And again, 0 RG hits taken. You'll definitely see an Expo in the right, I want to say. Yes, we will, because RG out of cycle, Monk out of cycle, although wow, 3-card cycle, allowing Sandbox to cycle all the way back to a Monk, or rather an RG, just that quickly. That is insane. So Betfas' out cycle does not go as planned, and now Sandbox is definitely going to keep going for these plays, you know, just Monk at the bridge and pop that ability to get that ability damage on the tower. And I'm actually concerned because right now, Sandbox does take the damage lead. Betfas forced to go constantly with these Xbows. Might go for a Tesla in the corner. No, he will not. Actually, he will. Yes, E-Spirit plus Tesla to retarget that RG. That is why he played that Expo in the middle. And throwing a Fireball on the tower is Betfas. Again, bridge blocking this Monk, so that Monk ability will be forced to take out the Evo Archer and not actually get any tower damage. And Betfas has now taken the lead in terms of spell cycle. He can throw a Fireball and a log back. And he's actually up right now. I think he actually might just take this win, which is absurd if you look at the matchup. Look at the matchup, guys. It is RG, Monk, Evo Hunter cycle. He literally has the same cycle as Betfas. E-Spirit Skeletons. Betfas bridge blocks that Monk, gets yet another Fireball log on the tower at the last 3 seconds, and there is no way I just witnessed that. Betfas just won this matchup against one of the best RG players in the world, Sandbox. I cannot believe what I just saw. He just finds a way to win this matchup every time. I don't know what it is, but Betfas clearly has it figured out, so very well played. Amazing win against Sandbox for game number 1 of the video. Alright, we got Betfas versus Asaph, 3,700 plus gameplay as you can see, so this is truly top echelon, top ladder. This is probably going to be Betfas' game for top 3 if he wins, but Asaph, a very well-known drill wallbreakers player, he has a #1 ladder finish of his own, so definitely not going to be any slouch of an opponent for Betfas in this match here, as he does have the Knight, Evo Cannon, and a Fireball is seen as well, so definitely going to be a difficult matchup for Betfas, I would say, but he does have a way to win these, so we'll find out what he does. Also, if you guys do enjoy this type of content, you know, Betfas gameplay, all sorts of other top ladder collaborations, please make sure to let me know in the comments below, and also subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot and would help me out. You know, if you guys want to see more like this, it would really mean a lot that you let me know and show it with likes, comments, all of that stuff. It does take a lot of effort to get this top ladder gameplay recorded for you and edit it into nice watchable videos, also because Betfas doesn't really upload on his channel, although I will say he has been posting more recently, so I will also link his channel in the description below if you guys would like to check out Betfas' channel for more of his own gameplay. He does not post too often, though, so that's why I like to try and post and showcase his games for you guys, because you can't really get that content anywhere else. So again, if you guys enjoy this, make sure to show some love. I would appreciate it. But yeah, Asaph just kind of holding on and not giving Betfas much headway whatsoever in this match here. And I feel like that's how the match is going to go for the most part, because, I mean, Knight to tank for the Expo, Fireball log if he needs it. He also does have the wall breakers, let alone Evo breakers, to take out a full Expo if needed. I mean, wall breakers for 2 elixir will take out half of an Expo by themselves, so that's really no joke. Also, really nice play by Asaph with the prediction Ice Spirit on the Evo Archers, but Betfas somehow, I don't know what that interaction was, but he gets away with the Evo Archers melting everything and doesn't get a lock there, so very well played. Kind of organizing his cycle and getting those Evo Archers to be in line with the punish that he wanted. Also, I believe he did outcycle the Evo Cannon, because if you guys did not know, Evo Cannon does one-shot Evo Archers, so it's just going to kind of invalidate them if you ever have that going on, so you have to be very careful about it, of course. Betfas does go for a log, and I mean, he does miss the drill, but I can see what he was going for, because he wanted to hit that Evo Breaker and make sure that didn't connect, because I don't know, I guess the Evo Breaker was a bigger threat. I mean, both are pretty big threats, but Asaph unrelenting with this drill pressure, guards drill at the bridge. We'll probably start seeing again some drills plus fireballs coming in at a certain point, so Betfas does have to be very careful of that. Asaph does go for the Evo Cannon, so I would say something pretty beneficial for Betfas here is the synchronization of Evos, and it's kind of desynced for Asaph. You know, he does want to get that Evo Cannon on the Evo Archers if possible, but just based on the way he's been playing so far, does not get that out and is just kind of desynchronized again. So it's going to be pretty beneficial for Betfas to just utilize his Evo Archers where they cannot get one-shot by an Evo Cannon. Also, very nice Fireball cycle. Naked on the tower, looks like he's just able and happy to take that value because he wants the damage. Of course, drill somehow gets a bit of damage itself on the left there. It seems like no matter what you do, the drill always finds a way to sneak one goblin stab in. Asaph unrelenting again with this pressure, goes for the drill. Evo breakers at the bridge. Betfas with a very nice log on the drill and then a knight after. Look at that play, guys. Log on the first drill and then knight or spirit or something afterwards. The reason for that play is because you will see Asaph going in with these drills plus logs or drills plus fireballs. Right here, drill, wall breakers, and you might see, yes, a fireball right there. So what the log first does is mitigates that spell by Asaph and just takes out that first goblin. Then after the spell is through, you can then go for your counter to the troop that the drill is going to be spawning, the goblin. So yeah, pretty effective play. Here another drill comes down again, very nicely timed log, and Betfas has his evil archers just wreaking havoc on the board. Again, going to take a naked fireball on the tower. Just make sure he gets that tower damage. And Asaph forced to log over here. Evo Cannon will come down, but Betfas still gets a pretty nice damage lead up about 500, which is still not really much of a lead because Asaph can again just constantly go for drills plus fireballs and easily bridge that damage lead very quickly. As you can see, it's already down to 400 now, and he has at least one more drill fireball coming in. But Betfas just goes for the naked fireball once more. Save Tesla for the breakers. Again, log on the first goblin to avoid that pre-log by Asaph. Very important play that you can see. And I think just barely Betfas is going to get away with this game. Another fireball thrown and getting that early lock and then holding on for the rest of it. Plus perfect drill micro. He's able to get away with a win against pretty much the best drill player in the world. Absolutely insane gameplay. And that was a very impressive win against what I would say is honestly not that easy of a matchup. Again, against one of the best in the world with the deck. So very, very impressive stuff by Betfas. That was a very educational game, and that is indeed going to put Betfas in top 3 in the world. Absolutely insane moves made by Betfas. Alright, we are into a match against Hottie. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I always like to get these games for you in the Betfas videos if I can, the giant games, because, you know, they're always these boogeyman type matchups that if you play Xbow and you get a matchup like this, you're just going to be suffering and crying. So I want to show you exactly how Betfas beats these, and looks like we might just get what we wanted here because Hottie is going to be the opponent. Honestly, I don't like giant players at all, but I will say Hottie is one of the best giant players in the world, so definitely will be putting up a formidable fight for Betfas here in this match. You see an Xbow in the middle, and I really like this play because you can see that if they go giant on the Xbow, it has to walk all the way around the river and just has a longer travel duration overall. So, you know, just basic math, if the giant walks more to get to the Xbow, it just takes a longer time, and that means the Xbow has a chance of getting a lock. Here we see a very nice defense here. Zap forced out on the Xbow, and as I was saying, the Xbow lock does come through, so that is actually very impressive, sneaking a lock in early in this match here because center Tesla, Xbow tucked right next to the Tesla in the middle again, forcing the giant to walk all the way around the river. More distance traveled equals less time for the giant on the Xbow, more time to reach the Xbow, which means you can kind of protect the Xbow and actually get a lock, and Betfas showing exactly how that play works. So very nice little trick there, and does get an early one. I think this is going to be a pretty tough matchup. I mean, Hottie does have the Giant Prince, which is historically just a pretty rough matchup for Xbow. Also the Evo Lumberjack, which is honestly pretty problematic because if you get the Evo Lumberjack with the push, it's just going to melt whatever it goes up against. Whether it's a Knight, Archer, anything, it's just going to cause problems left, right, and center. Speaking of problems, though, really nice dual lane pressure with his troops. We see the Xbow plus the Evo Archer in the left, and then the Xbow plus the Evo Archer rather, plus a Knight in the right. And another lock snuck in for Betfas. I don't understand how he does it, but he just did it. If you guys don't understand, then rewind and watch that sequence again. These center Xbows just putting in overtime work for Betfas, and just like that, you know, he's able to get easily over 1,000 damage of a lead in single against this giant matchup, which is honestly pretty unheard of. A sneaky fireball comes in to get another lock. I cannot believe how much damage Betfas is getting with these Xbows, and that is going to be Hottie's tower down to 1619. I actually cannot believe it right now. That is insane. And so right now Hottie is just kind of done. I would say this game is over. Again, I do think this is a pretty decent matchup for Giant, but what I will say is if Xbow gets an early lead and holds on to it, you know, if you're up about half a tower, you can just kind of defend and get away with holding on for the rest of the match. Really nice Knight placement to kite that Lumberjack into the Tesla to take it out, but as you can see, the Evil Lumberjack stays alive for so long, gets on the Xbow for 2 swings. We will see yet another lock. No, the Giant just barely gets in range to tank this time. I swear to God, that would have been game over if that Xbow got another lock, if that's like, what, 4 Xbow locks in this game? And Hottie has literally barely touched Betfas' towers. He is struggling. He's zapping the left, raging the right. He is so unsure of which lane he even wants to go in. He's just struggling and panicking. And Betfas pedal on the metal, just keeping this going, keeping the center Xbows with that center Tesla. Really nice play. You can also see that it kind of avoids spell value on the Xbow on the tower. You know, I believe Hottie is playing a Fireball in this deck, pretty much the newest meta giant deck, and so he can't hit the Xbow on the tower with the Fireball, whereas if the Xbow is in the standard placement in the river, like corner side, you would obviously be able to Fireball the Xbow on the tower, so just a bit of a difference there. Nice log timing, and Betfas is going to triple elixir with, if I see this right, almost a 3,000 damage lead. It genuinely does look very much over for Hottie. I think we will see the Fireball. No, we'll see the Evo Zap save for those Evo Archers, so pretty nice management by Hottie, and the cycle aspect there. We'll see an E-Spirit, beautiful E-Spirit chaining onto everything, not the bomber, but still nice E-Spirit tanking a bomber hit and just getting that nice chain. 2 logs will kill the bomber. Evil Lumberjack will definitely kill this Tesla, but he's back to another one all the way in the top right corner, and hope is just fading away for Hottie here as Betfas is just running away with this match. It was his match the entire time. I swear, this is basically a picture-perfect Giant game. If you don't know how to play against Giant, this is basically the game for you. I mean, there were pretty much no mistakes made the whole time, and as far as offensive goes, the offensive front was just insane. This game, Betfas just had the entire match in his favor. The momentum was his way the entire time. Hottie goes for the last minute Fireball to get a bit of damage on the tower, but Betfas takes a very casual 3,000 damage lead in the Giant matchup against one of the best Giant players in the world, so honestly very impressed by Betfas' performance there. Very, very nicely done. Alright, we got a game against Polaris, who has a number 2 ladder finish, as you guys saw there, and this is going to be Mortar Bait. Now, I would say this is one of Betfas' best matchups in the whole game. I swear this guy always beats this matchup no matter what. Even if the other guy has Cannon Cart Fireball Log, I see Betfas win it. It's so insane because to me personally, I struggle with this matchup quite a bit. I feel like I've learned how to play it better by watching Betfas, but it's still a tough matchup overall because they have the Cannon Cart for the Xbow, they have the Mortar they can spam on defense, they have the Miner for direct tower damage. I would say your 2 saving graces in this matchup are number 1, the E-Spirit, of course, to use on the bats and all the spam, and then the Evo Tesla, which can just be used in a crutch to clear up any kind of swarmy situation on the board. Also, I suppose Evo Archers can be pretty good if you split them because they can only really go for arrows on one of them, and then the rest, the other side, you can maybe make something happen, but it's not really that easy. And Polaris, going with the way you're supposed to play this matchup, just an early defensive Mortar going to be stalling out pretty much the entire game. Betfas' goal is definitely going to be to get an Expo lock, because I don't think you can win this matchup without going in, although I will say that Spell Cycle is a huge component of this matchup as well. You will definitely see Betfas getting multiple Fireballs on the tower, because that's just how it goes. I would say a big use case for that as well is going to be on the Evo Mortar, because, you know, Fireball plus Log on an Evo Mortar means it only gets 2 hits, I believe, if my calculations are correct. So, nice pressure by Betfas, I have to say. These early Skeleton Archer pushes, just kind of funny pushes, and here we see a defensive Mortar anti-Fireball to the right side tower by Polaris, and Betfas saying, nope, I don't care about that, I'm going to naked Fireball a right side tower because that's the lane I want to go in. So he's just going to go for that and go for a center Tesla, which will actually hit that Miner as well. Very helpful for Betfas, otherwise he would have taken a bunch more damage there. Polaris revealing his champion, the Skeleton King, and his last card is definitely going to be the Cannon Cart, like I said. That's why I think this matchup is a little bit tricky, but split Evo Archers, so if Polaris does want to go for the arrows, he can only do so on one of them. Very nice reaction time by Betfas, blocking that Cannon Cart, keeping this defense Exo alive for as long as possible. E-Spirit Chain letting Betfas down. Those skeletons are going kind of crazy, getting some tower damage for Polaris, and so now the damage lead suddenly just disintegrates because that E-Spirit, I feel like, just didn't chain onto anything it was supposed to, and so now it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Betfas probably going to go for more defensive Expos. I have noticed his playstyle. He loves to go defensive Expos in these matchups, you know. Just a very nice way to get momentum, because you look at the opponent's deck, they just don't have a way to attack a defensive Expo directly. They don't have a big spell. They don't have... yeah, that's basically, they don't have a big spell, so they can't really lean on that. Cannon Cart is going to lock on the Knight. I swear that is like some kind of crazy plot armor. I swear that Evo Mortar was about to lock onto the tower just at the last minute. It dies at perfect timing. Betfas, I swear to God, has some kind of crazy plot armor. That Cannon Cart is going to die, and Betfas does survive the Evo Mortar push. Fireball forced out on that insane Goblin swarm in the left. That was what? A full Goblin gang. And Spear Goblins. I guess because he didn't have the login cycle, just Polaris kind of abusing Betfas' cycle. But Betfas holding on very strong, very steady. Knight, Archers, Tesla. Very standard bridge defense against Mortars and also Xbows does work out this time as well. Gonna take out those spears too. And I might see a defense Expo. No, we will see a naked Farball in the tower. I think that might be because Betfas knows Polaris does not have the defensive, or rather the Evo Mortar and cycle. I feel like he knows exactly what's going on with the Evos and the cycles, so if Polaris did have an Evo Mortar available to use on offense, Betfas would not have gone for that naked Fireball, but nonetheless, he does just throw it in there and then goes for the Debo. You know, I thought he would maybe Debo first and then Fireball cycle, but no, he's reversing it. Will we see a Fireball on one Spear Goblin? We will. Okay, I was right. Wow, I guess one Spear Goblin and two Bats. So now he does know that Polaris has the Evo Mortar available, but Betfas does have a Debo alive and also somewhat of a Tesla alive. Evo Archers come out, which will get arrows off immediately, and we'll see a defensive, or I keep calling it defense, we'll see an Evo Mortar by Polaris right about now. I believe Betfas does have the matched Evo Tesla, yes, and that's going to melt everything actually, so saved Evo Tesla for the Evo Mortar. Very nicely done. Unfortunate timing on this defensive Expo though, because that is going to just get mauled by the Evo Bats, but still doing a pretty good job at tagging for them, I suppose. We'll see a Tesla saving the log is Betfas for the Skeleton King ability. Now we'll go for the log and Espirit for the Bats, and Skellies do catch that miner once more, so Betfas has caught basically every single miner late game. Last minute Fireball comes down, and like I said, he is just a magician in this matchup. Very well played again against one of the best Mortar Bait players in the world. Absolutely great gameplay and just defensive Expos, you know, offensive at some times, and then again spell cycle to get the damage. Very, very impressive performance. Alright, Betfas in a game against Ice Kun. Okay, this should be Ice, and this should be Splashyard with the Goblinstein, I want to say. Actually, he has the Ice Wiz guard, so maybe not, but, you know, Tornado was nerfed, so people are playing less Tornado and Splashyard these days, so we might actually see... yes, we will see Goblinstein Graveyard, so it's going to be no Tornado Splashyard, which I would say actually makes the matchup worse, because you look at this deck, right? Ice has Evo Knight, a big counter to the Expo. He also has Goblinstein, of course a natural big counter to the Expo, and then he does have the Evo Cannon as a cherry on top, which just means it's going to be very tough for Betfas to break through, but even worse than that is Ice has the guard, so he literally has 5 ground cards, 6 if you include the cannon, 7 I guess if you include, wait no, I think I have my calculations all wrong, but okay, wait, he has guards, Knight, Ice Wiz, Goblinstein, so 4, 5 if you include the cannon, 6 if you include the Barbarian Barrel, 7 I guess if you want to include the Graveyard, but of course no one's going to do that. But my point is, it's going to be very tricky for Betfas to ever break through in this match, and I feel like it's just going to be Ice's momentum the whole way through, because he has the 3-card cycle with the champion. Betfas of course playing 3.0, no champions in this deck, and then Ice also has the guards, so Tornado's honestly pretty useless against Expo. You guys know if you play against Splashyard players, they usually go for like a NATO to whittle down a low HP Expo, or sometimes you even cycle it on your tower or something, but not having a NATO and having guards instead just means it's either going to be less of a dead card where you can split guards to the back like he does over there, or you can actually use guards to tank for an Expo if you want, which is going to be pretty tricky to deal with for the Expo player. Really nice log timing by Betfas. That's actually going to be 0 graveyard connections in the left. I just checked, literally 0 hits, but here is the biggest problem with the Evo Cannon. The elimination rather of the Evo Archers. I was going to say Evo Archers, I kind of stumbled upon my words, but the elimination of the Evo Archers, just one-shotting Evo Archers with that Evo Cannon drop, so that's going to be very problematic. Will we see a Fireball on this Stein? No, we will see a Tesla instead. One of Betfas' favorite plays. I believe he actually came up with that play because I learned that play from him. It does block the Goblinstein monster from getting on the Expo, subsequently blocking that ability from getting on the Expo as well. So very nice little play. Bit of an overcommit, but something you can definitely make if you have saved up the elixir to make that play in the first place. And right now, Betfas is actually holding a 500 damage lead, which I would say is pretty surprising. You know, Ice trying to keep this going, goes for the poison. Betfas will again go for the Expo, but I mean, that's not going to do anything. Ice can just go for the ability if he wants, doesn't even need it though, honestly. It's just pretty much going to be an Expo fully taken out, and he can just go for the low guards again. This is what I was talking about, the benefit of the guards. Betfas will take his Fireball though, because Ice, again, just naked poison if you guys didn't see that in the bottom left, and he can kind of afford to do that because he has so much Expo defense in this deck that it's going to be very difficult for Betfas to ever break through. I mean, Evo Knight right now, you can basically say goodbye to your Expo. We see an Evo Tesla, though, for the up-high Goblin-Stein. We'll see Evo Archers, or normal Archers, rather. Sorry, guys, it's a little late at night right now when I'm recording these games, so stumbling over my words a little bit, but we see the normal Archers to defend that graveyard. Now we have the Evo Archers to take out that Knight. Evo Cannon will make quick work of them, but not before they basically melt that entire Knight. Tesla Poison, and that's going to be so much damage for Ice. Even though Betfas went for the Tesla and Log, the Poison does come down, and Ice actually is just barely behind, but he's slowly catching up because Graveyard Poison does outdamage Fireballs on the tower. But a Fireball will come down, Skellies, and you can see even though Skellies died to Poison, Betfas does go for the Skeletons to block those Graveyard Skeletons and just prevent that hit from coming in. Even if they get poisoned off, you know, it's worth it. Fireball will come down, we'll think we'll see a Log, and Betfas does just barely get away with the win. I think that was very well played because honestly this matchup is so much harder than it looks. I would say this is probably like a 70-30 for Graveyard, in my honest opinion. I think that was very well played by Betfas again, and just did exactly what he had to do with the spell cycle and perfect defense. Alright, Betfas against Rakan, just constantly holding that number 3 spot on ladder has Betfas been doing. Here we will see a non-Expo response to this Lava Hound, so maybe Betfas didn't have Expo in hand, or I'm not sure what, but electing to go full defense on this first Lava Hound push. This is a pretty classic matchup, you know, Betfas loves this matchup, and I have heard many people say he snipes Lava players. Not entirely sure if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised. It is, again, a pretty good matchup. Will we see a Fireball on the Skelly Drags? We will, and we'll see a beautiful King Tower activation by Betfas here with that Expo. If you guys did not know the interaction, now you know. It's where you can go for the Tesla, then the Expo on the Balloon, and basically get an activation, although you will take a bit of damage from the pups, but it's definitely worth it because that will help out against all future Lava Loon pushes, all future Lava Pups, and even Miners on the tower if Rakan is playing a Miner, which I doubt he is. Last two cards should be Evo Valk and Guards, if not mistaken. It's a pretty classic Lava Hound variation. Now we'll see a Knight opposite at the same time as a Lava, bit unfortunate, but I guess he didn't have his Expo back in cycle anyway, so maybe he wasn't able to go for that. We'll see an E-Spirit down low. We'll see an Expo? I don't think we will, right? Because, yeah, he has to defend this. Evo Archers will come down, but they get arrows off immediately, so they got about 2 power shots each, and then just kind of disappeared. Betfas goes for the Tesla now. Skiller Drags do need to be fireballed off, and they will get fireballed off immediately, and that is a pretty easily defended Lava Hound push. The problem with this game, though, is Betfas is actually in a pretty bad spot. I mean, Rakan had all the momentum and single elixir, and normally in these situations, Betfas would probably take the entire tower, but we've actually seen 0 offensive Expos out of him this entire match. He's going to change and prove me wrong in this exact instance by going for an Expo, but the Valkyloon will basically take that out. Only a mini Expo lock to boot for that commitment, but nice protection of this Tesla. Immediately back to an Expo is Betfas, and I believe he will go for it in just a second here because he is all the way back. And Rakan just goes for the Evo Zap cycled on the King Tower as well. I guess why not, right? You already have the King activated, just an interesting play. Nice Tesla to take out that eye drag. Will we see a Fireball on this Valk plus Balloon? I think we will. No, we'll see a Knight instead. So I was going to say maybe a Fireball to keep that Expo alive, but we will see a Knight instead. I think actually no way he did that because he's back to Expo now, right? And he can actually go for this Knight or Expo while keeping that Knight Archer pressure. And now Betfas does get the Expo connection plus the Tesla helping out against the Skeleton Dragons, and that is going to be a good game. I mean, the Valk is going to come down way too late. Evo Archers will melt it, and arrows will come out as well, but I mean, damage is done. I want to point your guys' attention to that play by Betfas. He basically went for the Knight instead of the Fireball because he wanted to keep the momentum in his favor and cycle back to another Expo. Knight costs 1 less than the Fireball, and it does provide a form of counter push with the Archer. So it was just kind of a very nice way to force out Elixir of Rakan and keep the momentum in Betfas' favor. I think that was actually a pretty underrated play that I myself would not have made. Again, I was immediately seeing the Fireball in that position, so very, very nicely done by Betfas. Now I think we will see just a naked Fireball, yes, on the eye drag. There comes a certain point where Lava players start predicting you to go Expo constantly, and so what you want to do is just play very defensive and just pre-Tesla, pre-Archers instead of going in and feeding their predictions. And what Betfas did there exactly is what I was talking about, just instead going with a naked Fireball instead of an Expo, and then just perfect defense here with a Fireball Evo Tesla to clean all of that up. Very satisfying defense, and now that should just be, I want to say 2 logs and a Fireball, or maybe 2 Fireballs actually. Actually, Rakan's just going to throw it in, and pretty upset about that loss, but very, very nicely done by Betfas. Another win against Lava Hound. Alright, we got a game, and it's going to be against Sohi. This is going to be an interesting one because Sohi is a Mega Knight Bait player. You guys might have seen this deck before, or maybe not, but it is a very old, classic meta deck many years ago. It's just like 3.0 Xbow Cycle, and it's pretty interesting because you will never see people who want to abuse meta decks play a deck like this, but you will see people who are diehard fans of this deck still play it on top ladder to this day, such as Sohi, such as someone called Mega Knight Master, I believe. I've played him quite a few times myself. But we see a very aggressive Mega Knight iDrag push plus a miner to snipe those archers. Nice defense by Betfas, gets a Tesla down to help out as well, but a lot of elixir forced out by Sohi, so Betfas not in the greatest spot. This matchup, though, does look pretty good for Betfas. I mean, he has the Evo Archers, which are unkillable, so he is playing with Zap, not even arrows, so that's something you can abuse in this matchup. Betfas does also have the Evo Tesla, which is just kind of an insane bailout in this matchup, honestly. The Pulse does one-shot Evo Bats. Also, Evo Tesla will fully counter a Skeleton Barrel, a set of Spear Goblins, the Spear Goblins out of a Goblin Gang, and Evo Tesla plus E-Spirit does kill a Goblin Gang too, so just nice interactions overall. I think if you just don't mess up, this is pretty much a very free matchup, but they get to be very aggressive with these Mega Knight iDrag pushes, you can see. So he just kind of abusing that early. Betfas in a bit of trouble. Will that Archer survive? Yes, it will. Very helpful. Gets a power shot to help on that iDrag. And an Evo Tesla forced as well. But now Sohi in a bad spot because no Mega Knight in cycle, no Inferno Dragon in cycle, and Betfas goes for the Xbow on 6. What is Sohi going to do? Probably split. Okay, wow, what in the world was that Goblin Gang? I guess he was just panicking, and that's going to come down very late. The double pulse on the miner is so satisfying, and that's essentially a dead Spear Goblins push. That's a dead miner, and that's pretty much a dead tower as well. So Sohi kind of panicking, making the mistake of letting that Expo lock, and now he's forced to just struggle and pressure. But you can see something I want to highlight out of this match. I think I'll include it in the video anyways, was Betfas' patience. You know, he didn't go for any aggressive Expos early, which me personally, I do. This matchup I try and starting hand them sometimes, but Betfas is playing very principled, very disciplined, going for those nice early defenses on the Mega Knight iDrag pushes, and punishing when he has an Evo Tesla in cycle, and after counter pushing, you know, taking out an iDrag and Mega Knight out of rotation of Sohi. So just nice little patience and discipline once more, showcasing how to play this deck at a truly optimal level. And now Sohi just struggling to break through. Evo MK the back. I would not be surprised if Betfas just goes for a Fireball on that, honestly. We might see that, but we'll see the split Evo Archers instead. So okay, not toying with him that much. Actually, no, I lied. He is. I had a feeling he was going to do that, honestly. Just throws the Fireball on the Mega Knight. The kind of play that you can make when you've basically already won the game. We'll see an E-Spirit for those bats. Knight will defend. You can see even Mega Knight's not that hard to control, at least if you have archers helping out that they don't have arrows for, so just not too difficult. One more Fireball comes down, and so he has one last dance in him, one final push to make things happen. I sincerely doubt anything will be happening, though. Yeah, not really going to be able to break through. Betfas just has such good defense and just another Fireball. So pretty free matchup, but still does showcase the discipline Betfas played this game with, and I would say that was still a pretty impressive one and a nice one to watch.